Hello and welcome to Mile High Reefers. I'm Scott Anderson, and I want to talk a little bit about avoiding tank crashes. Now, this is not an all-encompassing video on every tank crash that could possibly happen, but it is inspired by an event that happened to me a couple months ago, and I just haven't had time to make this video yet. But a couple months ago, I woke up, and pretty much the majority of the systems on my tank were dead. It's just kind of one of those things where everything that could go wrong went wrong. So what happened was, I got up in the morning and my wife said the tank's looking weird. And my G-Bows at the time had failed, or my G-Bow, the other JBJ pump was still working. The tank return, or the pump downstairs, had failed. My calcium reactor had failed. And my heater had failed into the on position. I know, right? How is it possible that all of those systems failed at once? I mean, it's just kind of really bad timing. But every one of those systems can fail, and they do fail. And since I caught it in time, it wasn't a big deal. So I'm going to kind of talk about some of the stuff that I do to make something like that not a big deal. The most important thing you can do, and this is going to sound so incredibly simple and stupid, a lot of people are going to think it's dumb. But the most important thing you can do is look at your tank. No, really, look at it every day. And not just the display, look at your equipment. Every day. It's so easy to neglect it, right? You get up in the morning, you're in a hurry, and you're out the door. I know how it goes. Personally, I have my routine. I get up in the morning, or in the evening, depending if I'm on nights or days. I get a cup of coffee, and I take it easy, and I spend a good 10-15 minutes just looking at my tank. Now for me, this isn't a chore, this is just enjoyment. But it's really important that we look at our tanks on a daily basis. In fact, if you're looking to build a new tank, one of the most important things you can do is think about tank placement. My tank is right by the front door, so you can't miss it when you walk in or when you leave. My tank is also in the main living room that we use most of the day. So when we're just hanging out, we're hanging out on the couch in front of the tank. It's perfect. So I know it sounds simple, but that is the most important thing you can do, is look at your tank on a daily basis. So one of the most important things we can look at is the temperature of the tank. And you can see right now I'm running 77.7, which is just perfect in my opinion. You know, a degree plus or minus that is exactly where I try to keep my tank. In fact, I like it a little on the cool side instead of the hot side, just in case a heater fails. If a heater fails off and the temperature goes down, it's much less damaging than if a heater fails on and the temperature spikes up. When the temperature gets too hot, your coils can bleach. And that is the fastest way to kill your tanks. I know this because it's happened to me. If you watch one of my older videos, my heater failed in the on position, and I didn't catch it for several days, which is why I run a thermometer like this upstairs, but I also have one downstairs. I have dual thermometers just to double check. Now you guys with controllers have it easy, right? Because you can actually get an email when your temperature goes a little out of whack. But I would still run something like this thermostat that's easy to read, that you can see as a backup to your controller, just so you know for a fact that your controller is reading correctly. And if you get a little different reading between the two, then you know something's wrong and you need to check it. But temperature can definitely crash your tank. I had it happen and I lost about half of the coils in my tank when it did happen to me. So I mentioned earlier that my heater failed in the on position. Well, it did. And I caught that because I was at temp and it wasn't going off, and I tested it. But at the same time, when my pump failed, my heater that was connected to the circuit failed in the off position. So I got kind of lucky because I run two 300-watt heaters in this tank, and neither heater left on is capable of heating me full 450 gallons of water on its own. So I can have one heater running all the time and not overheat my tank. Now if they were both on, that would have hurt. But that's not how it went on. So again, I got really lucky. But the root cause was, I've got a power bar back here. And you're limited to the amount of power that you can run through your power bar. And I bought one of the better ones that Lowe's had to sell, and it worked great for a couple of years. Now I don't know why it failed on me, but it did, and it still works. It just can't handle lots of voltage. I reset it, and then my pump failed again. But root cause was that power bar was now failing with a lower amount of wattage going through it, as nothing had changed with this setup for months. So what I did was I took the big power units off of the power bar itself. So now I've got this three-way setup on here that has the power bar running off of it, it has my big pump running off of it, and it has my heater running off of it. So ideally, I would like some sort of shock protection on there in case there's a voltage spike in my house, and I have XL Energy, and they're pretty terrible. But the components that are on this really aren't that sensitive. The heater's fairly sensitive, but as I said before, if I lose one, it's not the end of the world. And my return pump, that's a pretty big, heavy-duty piece of equipment. It will likely live through a quick voltage spike. No guarantees, but I'm betting the farm on the fact that it'll live through a voltage spike more than I'm betting on my power bar to maintain the power. So if you've watched my other videos, you've likely seen this Via Aqua heater. Now, it looked great. In fact, my old style Via Aqua heater worked great. In fact, I'm still running it on the tank. This one is the replacement for the one that failed on, and this one failed on. So all I can say is, this thing's a piece of crap. This is the style of heater I want, right? You have external controller, shows you temperature, and it allows you to set the temperature where you want it. It's titanium, so you can smack it on the ground, it ain't gonna break, nothing's gonna happen to it. And you've got the external probe. This is what I like in here. Bad news is, the electronics in it are basically junk. So this thing goes in the trash. So I'm back to the old Via Aqua heater. This is the old style with the manual dial. And thing's 8 years old, but it still works great. And I guess I'm at the point where I'm trusting an 8-year-old heater over anything I can go buy from the store because I know it works, because I've had it for 8 years. So one of the problems I've had was with auto top-off staying on. Now I use the old style auto top-off with the float switch on it, and eventually they always got mental accretion or something on them that had it fail in the on position. Now I only put 5 gallons in the water every day, which meant that every day I had to come down and top up my 5-gallon bucket, and it kind of defeated the purpose. And then it would fail on, and the water would kick on, and the full 5 gallons would go in, and it just didn't work. So what I've done is I've gone back to the old school method. Every day I come down and I turn the valve. It's a little hard to see there, but I manually fill my sump. I do this every day. Now, a lot of you are probably thinking, wow, that sounds like a lot of work. Well, it's really not. It takes probably 3 minutes out of my day to come down, turn a valve, have the water come on, and while it's taking the 10 to 30 seconds that it takes me to refill my sump, I'm double checking everything in my equipment, right? My protein skimmer, is it working right?
My calcium reactor, is it working right? My phosphate, my carbon, is everything going through there? My temperature, I've got another temp gauge down here. Is all of that working? My biopellets, are they tumbling? Is everything as it's supposed to be? So, by forcing myself to come down here every day and turn that little valve, it forces me to come down here and visually inspect my system. Sounds silly. Takes 3 minutes. But this is why when I have a problem, I catch it almost immediately. And then of course there's the worst tank crash that I've ever had. This is about a 6-year tank crash, and I never could figure out what caused it. Well, at least it took me 6 years to do it. And that is on my old 29-gallon system. I originally put together my 29-gallon system on, let's call it a shoestring budget, but really it was like $1,200. Now this was before the nano cubes were popular, the all-in-one stuff. None of that was really out yet. We were just using the equipment we could go buy at the LFS. Even the internet order stuff wasn't quite there. It was still mainly catalog based. There was none of the YouTube stuff that there is today. This is 9 years ago now. Doesn't sound like that long ago, but believe me, in comparison to what we have today, this is the dark ages. But what happened is the first 5-6 months, the tank did really well. I had a big torch in there. Bigger, probably close to the size of the gold hammer, but with like 5 heads on it. The thing was beautiful. And then I had some really nice zoanthids, large colony of orange and greens, and I had a Naphthia in there and some Xenia. And it was doing really good for the first few months. And then it crashed. And I couldn't figure out why. I took a water sample to my LFS. Actually, I took multiple samples to multiple LFSs, and nobody could figure out why I was having such problems. I even remember one of the guys at the fish store saying, "Wow, your water quality is really good. I wish my water quality was this good." Yet, any coral I put in my tank died. The fish struggled. Except for Nemo, the clownfish you see in there, who is now 9 years old. So it took me 6 years to figure it out. But when I bought the 90-gallon tank, it came with one of the needle-style hydrometers. And just for giggles, I tested the salinity in my 29-gallon tank. And it came out at 1.031. Well, that's really, really bad. What we want is 1.020 basically to 2.6. Most of us in the reefing community are closer to the 2.4 to 2.6, but 31 will kill your corals. And that's what happened to me. I had a bad hydrometer. So for 6 years, corals were dying because I was testing the wrong thing. So if you're having problems and you can't figure it out, test your salinity. Not just with your hydrometer, but borrow a buddy's. Go to the LFS, have them do it on their refract. See what they came up with. If I would have asked my LFS to refract this early on, who knows where I'd be as a reefer today. I'd be 6 years further along than I am today. So testing is huge. The other thing I've noticed with test kits is as you get to the bottom of your test kits, you start getting wonky readings. I really noticed this on calcium tests. And I've noticed this on both the Red Sea calcium test kits and the Salifert. That's all I've really ever used. But as you get to the bottom of those bottles, I tend to get low readings. And then when I buy a new test kit, I get really high readings, which means that I was really working hard to bring my calcium up when there is actually nothing wrong with my calcium. It was just my test kit got old. So if you're getting odd readings and you can't bring your levels up, double check it. Get a new test kit. Go to your LFS. Have them test it. This can save you from nightmares of tank crashes just by getting this stuff right. If your alkalinity is bad, it can destroy your tank. If your calcium goes way too high, it can snow and kill your tank. So just know that just because you're getting weird readings from your test kit doesn't actually mean that's the problem. So double test the test kit. So that's one of the big things that have happened to me. Now there are so many other ways for your tank to crash, right? You can have your lighting issues go bad. You can have so many other things. You can have your tank fail to where it's leaking all over the floor. That's probably the worst possible type of tank crash. But the biggest thing I know of to prevent this stuff from happening is to check your tank visually, both the livestock and the equipment daily, and then test the water regularly. And in fact, that's what I need to do right after this video. It's been a week since I've done a test on my water, and I feel really guilty. So on that note, I'm going to let you guys go. I'm going to test my parameters, and I'll see you on the next episode of Mile High Reefers. And if you like what I do, subscribe and feel free to hit that like button. Thanks for watching.